Let's move to the Denver Broncos, who had a defense good enough to be a postseason team, but the offense not even close. And Jason Lockett-Ford is reporting, guys, that Vic Fangio is probably on the way out. They might be looking at a head coaching change there in Denver. Danny, I'll give you first crack on the Denver Broncos, who were close. They went out and got Teddy Bridgewater, but he couldn't stay healthy, and they just couldn't keep that pedal to the metal after that 3-0 start.
Yeah, this is yet another disappointing season for the Denver Broncos, who really have had a rough patch in a franchise which usually, when Brady and I were on these teams, kind of consistent winners. We're getting to the playoffs. Had a ownership which was stable. Now you're seeing turnover. They can't figure out the quarterback position. Can't figure out the coach. It's a little bit of a mess. This is now 6 straight postseasons that they have missed the playoffs. It's bad. Now, I don't know if it's as much of a done deal with Vic Fangio. I mean, maybe JLC is right and it's going to move that way, but I do agree that the quarterback is another one where you've got massive question marks. Teddy Bridgewater now back free. Drew Lock, a little bit of a shaky start. I don't like what we're seeing there so far. So this is a franchise for me that I look at. I give them a D-. It's hard to say F because it's not a complete disaster, which we're going to get to one of those in a little bit. I just think this franchise is a complete mess right now. And the bad thing is where was the optimism? There really hasn't been any for this fan base.
To me, it's not so much about the head coach. I think Vic Fangio, if you look at the defense during the time he's been there, they've kept him in ball games. That's been one of the more stable pieces, even with dealing with injuries and even, moving on from a guy like Von Miller, who's been such a big piece for that organization since he was drafted there. So to me, it hasn't been the defense. They're talented. They're solid. They're one of the best in the AFC. It more comes down to their offense. I think Pat Shurmur's failed him. His system hasn't been great. It seems like it's never really fit the strengths of what they can do, or even seeing if Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock can throw downfield more and trying to create bigger plays in an era of offensive football where everyone else is doing it, in particular in your own division. That's why you're getting beat. That's why you're not winning more football games. So to me, they should be looking for an offensive coordinator. And if they end up moving on from Vic Fangio, I got a bright idea for you. How about a 2-for-1 package? Go after Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. And why don't you talk Aaron Rodgers into coming along with them after the season? It's a loaded roster on offense. All they're really missing is an Aaron Rodgers type player in order to take this team to a Super Bowl, a la Peyton Manning, who then became a free agent, joined the Denver Broncos, record-setting offenses, and joined a team that was loaded as well, personnel-wise. That's where the Broncos are at. This roster isn't far away from being able to make a playoff run or even a Super Bowl run if they have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. So maybe that should be their strategy moving forward, but it makes all the sense in the world to me. Bringing a guy like A-Rod, bringing an OC so that the offensive system stays the same, that's really all they need at this point.
Danny, what would you give him, a D-, Danny, for your grade?
Yeah.
Okay. D- was the grade there, so almost failing, the worst grade of any of the teams that missed the playoffs so far that we've talked about. Brady, team needs, like you said, they're an Aaron Rodgers away from being a Super Bowl contender. I mean, what's the likelihood of them being able to go out and get a Rodgers or maybe pull a deal for a Russell Wilson?
It's tough to tell at this point. It really is. I think any quarterback who's evaluating other opportunities out there has to be able to look at this wide receiver core, the tight ends, the offensive line play. I mean, Mike Munchak is one of the best in the business. If they get rid of Vic Fangio, they got to keep Munchak as a part of that group. He's got one of the best reputations in the NFL. It makes all the sense in the world. But, again, that's going to be a decision that whoever would come in if they want to move on from him would make. The bottom line is any quarterback looking at this roster should be, salivating, thinking about the big playability and looking at the defense and the way it can match up where they can actually stop, Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and all these other players. Derek Carr, if he's still there in Las Vegas, who could put up some big numbers. The Broncos match up favorably. So the roster's enticing. It just comes down to what opportunity is there to get either one of those guys. I'm sure Seattle doesn't want to move on from Russell Wilson or let him go. And I'm sure the Packers don't want to either with Aaron Rodgers. So there's going to have to be some give and take. What's that organization going to give up in order to be able to get one of those guys who's still currently under contract is the biggest question.
And Teddy Bridgewater no longer going to be under contract. Their starting quarterback for this season, who they traded for from Carolina, is going to be a free agent along with Kyle Fuller. Kareem Jackson also in that secondary. Melvin Gordon, who's shared time at the running back position, and Bobby Massey at the offensive tackle position as well.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.